Ladies and gentlemen, coming up next is a presentation, GenAI Infused Products and Developments. And I'd like to invite the two speakers onto the stage from Thoughtworks. We have with us Mujiruddin Shaikh as well as Sathyan Sethumadhavan. Could we have them on stage, please? And let's have a huge round of applause.
I think the topic of our talk today is GenAI infused products and development. So it's a quick 10 minutes talk. If you're curious about what we are talking about, do connect with us later. There's a fair bit of hype around GenAI, right? Like all of us talk about it all the time. The improvements in productivity. There are various figures which are touted by everyone, right? Improvements in productivity, automation of repetitive tasks, etc. I think what GenAI truly has done is brought the entry barrier to AI very low. So we now have usable AI available as a service. And I think that's one of the key differentiators with some of the GPT models and GenAI. And I also wanted to provide a metaphor to how to think about how the solutions have been progressing with GenAI. A good metaphor, I think, is thinking about it in terms of how Kahneman defines the system 1 and system 2 thinking, level of thinking for human beings. System 1 thinking is typically places where, if someone asks you, hey, what's your name? There's a quick reply that comes out of you. And I think a lot of the initial GenAI solutions that we were creating were more in that respect. They were much simpler solutions. You were largely leveraging the models, right? And a lot of chatbots, customer care systems that got built initially were largely leveraging some of the GPT services. To moving to a system 2 thinking, where say if you are given a slightly complicated mathematical question, it takes you some time to decide how to answer it, right? There's more thing that goes into it, and you are solving a much harder problem. And I think that's where some of the current GPT solutions that we are developing and we are seeing in the industry are moving towards, where GPT models are a part of the solution, but there's a lot more that happens prior and after. So I think it's interesting to see that progression and the metaphor thing. And a lot of the digital assistants, AI copilots, I don't just mean the Microsoft or the GitHub Copilot, but even copilots that people are building around for various users come in that thing. And multi-agent, agentic workflow is an important part of it. So largely, the other thing is a lot of times we think in terms of build and buy for various services. I think a good analogy to look here would be to buy and integrate. So while you are leveraging some GPT service, there's a lot more that you are doing to consume, extend it, and create more interesting functionality out of it. To talk a bit more about the spectrum of work that can be done with it, I think Sathyan will just kind of help us around with that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mujir. So before I get into the details, so I think Copilot, everyone, it comes to the mind is Microsoft Copilot, the GitHub Copilot. So the Copilot which we are talking about. All right. Yeah, the Copilot which we are talking about it's an ecosystem. It's actually a Copilot ecosystem which is needed for every enterprise when you are actually entering into the GenAI wave, right? And the presentation is gone?
Yeah.
All right. Should I wait?
I think it's booting up. Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, sure. All right. Yeah. So so that's the Copilot ecosystem. It's an ecosystem and it's not one agent which is there. I think the second one which I also want to talk about is when we say Copilot, we all say OpenAI, ChatGPT, right? And the subscribed services around it. And here it's not only that. You can actually build Copilots. You can actually host LLMs and stuff. We're using, if you are a highly privacy and data secured ecosystem, then, you can definitely do that. And basically what we are trying to actually highlight over here is one of a couple of customers where we have hosted this, we have built it from the scratch, the entire ecosystem of Copilot, including a multi-agent architecture, right? And we have seen all the necessary benefits on it. So I think, yeah, there's some metrics which is actually put through. But what I want to actually, there are two spectrums in the Copilot ecosystem. So one is when you actually start off as a regular assistant, which he was talking about, Mujir was talking about, like when you are actually in the area where you are generally talking to an assistant, which is basically, we call it as productivity gains. So there are two themes in this. So one is the productivity gains, the other one is the consumer experience. So I think, when enterprises look at GenAI with this lens, these two lenses, I think, that's where, you'll be able to take GenAI models and the GenAI experience to production. So one of the things, which we highlighted, is coming up?
Yeah, we'll just wait a minute.
All right, so that gives us a break.
Do we play the quiz? Do we play the quiz?
Infrastructure and the IoT combination. So we said, hey, it's an ecosystem, and you need to look at the spectrum where you need to implement. So if you look at it, there is a down spectrum, which is productivity gains, and there is this towards the end, that's a consumer experience. And accordingly, you make decision on your tech to actually get that implemented. So here, you can use subscribed services. You can even host it if you are, again, as I said, privacy concerned ecosystem, data concerned ecosystem, you can actually host it. And what we have done is we have completely built this entire platforms in the COE we have. Yeah, so the first thing let's talk about this productivity gains, that particular ecosystem. So for whatever we did, this is what we could achieve. We achieved around 25 to 35% of developer productivity in the software development. This is for mostly the internal groups, right? All the development teams doing it. There is about a variation of 20 to 45% on the knowledge-based use cases, where say you are looking for a knowledge search on your technical documentation or your enterprise knowledge search on it, right? And when we look at the adoption of this, roughly every function we have implemented this. We, at least to start with, we could see a 30% of adoption in these, right? So everyone was ready to actually work with an AI-assisted ecosystem where they were able to actually understand productivity gains. And there were 15 different workflows we were able to kind of automate using the GenAI assisted experience. So what that means, we are talking numbers, and this is definitely growing, as we move on and maturing the ecosystem. But how are we able to achieve it? So there is also another pattern which you'll need to follow, which is a multi-agent architecture. So all this which we're talking about, a developer copilot is an agent, a product copilot is an agent, right? And if you're looking for, say, now we are talking about talk to the DB. You don't need to write SQL queries. You can talk to the DB, and that is one specific agent, which we get through. So like this, we need to start moving towards the multi-agent architecture if we want to actually implement Copilot-based ecosystem in the enterprise. And also we need to move towards a real-time assisted Copilot. So which is basically all these Copilots, has a knowledge which need to be continuously fed in, which means some of the things, which talked about data cycle, data engineering, AI engineering, and all those things need to actually get it together if we had to do that. Yeah, so this is This is a quick representation of the implementation and the platform we had. If you look at it, I mean, there are 3 Copilot ecosystem. I mean, just for an example, we hosted 5+ open LLMs, and this includes a lot of these, we use Llama 3.1, 70B, 405B, 408B. We use Mistral. We use Llama SQL Coder. Like this, I mean, we have many models which are hosted. We have around 10 LLM agents, 3 function-enabled, a RAG-based ecosystem, a vector system-based ecosystem. So all this with the central Copilot engine, which actually does the orchestration. Yeah, so now moving on to the consumer experience, right? So now what is this consumer experience, right? So personalized consumer experience. Say, for example, if you are interacting on the retail-based product, and someone is trying to order, you can actually have a very much interactive experience using LLM. Hey, you search for this product. I mean, do you like this? This is another recommendation. Now, instead of showing, images and stuff, you can interact more naturally in an NLP way. And, the further questions could be something like, hey, do you want to order this? And, yes, I want to order this. And that's end of your fulfillment of your product purchase. So that is an experience which GenAI will provide when you move towards a consumer-based experience. And when we were able to provide that kind of experience is when GenAI will be taken to production, the LLM-based ecosystem will be taken to production. So it's a very high focus we need to put on the consumer experience, right? And what that also needs is, I think someone asked me this question like, hey, now with the GenAI coming in, all the other models, we have been working on deep learning, and there are a lot of models which are there, is it going away? The answer is no. Actually, GenAI is going to power up that, and it's actually going to create more opportunities for the deep learning models and, the whole core of the AI area. And then, and GenAI is going to sit at the top layer on the experience and assisting it to the consumers. Right, and also the last point on this, contextual knowledge and the long-term memory activation. This is very important because now we are talking experience, right? So you need to say if I'm it's in the retail product, then that context of the retail product of mine needs to be memorized by the LLMs, right? And accordingly provided. So that's where, next time I go in, that memory is actually taken to actually implement the next set of experiences. So I think these are the key highlights, when you try to do a consumer-based experience. So let's recap quickly, considering the time. Okay, it says 30 seconds, all right. So yeah, so as Mujir was saying, GenAI is here. I mean, it's a Copilot ecosystem, and it's here to actually provide us with the productivity gains, as well as, the human way of, experiencing it. And the new ROI equation, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I'll go that second. All right, sorry, thank you. Yeah, so the new ROI equation is basically, don't wait for it to, hey, okay, let it mature, we will use it when, things get mature. No, consume it now, and 100%, there is no product, I mean, in my experience, that it will solve your purpose. So you will definitely need to extend and, create some new things around it, right? And Copilot ecosystem, where you're choosing the right spectrum is going to give you the cost savings, right? And also the GenAI orchestration and the Copilot, where the existence of the ML and the LLM models is going to be the big winner in this particular thing. And just to summarize, I mean, at Thoughtworks, we actually work on some of these accelerators. We actually bring in build a lot of GenAI related accelerators for different industry verticals like retail and others, right? And also, we develop a lot of the open source tools, like, where we built Haven, and there's one more. Like, there are a lot of things, which are in the pipeline, which we are trying to open source to this, so that brings in as an accelerator for whoever is trying to get into this journey.
That's it.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, folks. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.